RyanAir and Easyjet, why are they so cheap? I'll be exploring this question along with the role of TNCs in expanding international tourism destinations. So this is going to be a low-cost carrier LCC evaluation for IBDP Geography, Leisure Sport and Tourism Unit, and this is a case study. So let's dive in by looking at the numbers first. So just mind you that these are pretty outdated, I believe. So you should check the internet again to get more real numbers. Okay, but from this chart we see, from these pictures we see that RyanAir has way more passengers, routes, and airports they operate in than EasyJet. So yeah, you could see the scale of their company. Excuse me, I have a cold. Okay, so first, how do these budget airlines work? So typically a fare of a budget airline might be half or a third of what people would pay for a normal airline. So for instance, if we have the British Airways, I believe, it might be, let's say, like 100 euros to go to London to Paris. But for these budget airlines, it might be, 60 euros or 30 euros. Unbelievable. I'm not sure the prices at this moment, but before COVID, it was very, very cheap. But we know that all airplane tickets just gradually became more expensive after COVID as well. So they spend the least on most expensive things. So let's say the interior of the airplane. So you see these seats right here. They don't have a pocket, when you usually have pockets for safety instructions and vomit bags. They're not there. And these seats are not reclining as well. They don't recline. That also saves their money. And RyanAir bought 151 737s from Boeing. So these are at relatively really, really low prices. So if you make these really large orders, like 151 planes, they have a bulk discount. So if you're in economics, you would know the economies of scale, And budget airlines are relatively new compared to normal airplanes. So some like airlines like Air France, the planes they might use might be like 12 years old, 15 years old, right? But these airplanes are relatively like babies, like 4 years old, 5 years old, or whatnot, so they have a larger fuel efficiency. So they don't have to refuel all the time. And they have the same airplanes, especially for the RyanAir, as I said before, and EasyJet with only operating with the A320 family. So if you have only one type of aircraft, the pilots, mechanics, staff, attendants, and employees only need to be trained on one type of aircraft, which saves an enormous amount of money and time. So more info on why are they so cheap. So they avoid luxuries, again with no reclining chairs and whatnot, so it reduces the amount of money spent and time wasted on cleaning the seats. And the flight attendants they have are usually at the beginning of their careers, so they have minimal training. So they could have a month of training and they're like, hey, congratulations, you could be an RyanAir attendant. That's why these budget airlines have a reputation for not having the greatest service. And the third one is staff have multiple roles. So these flight attendants might go down and help with the luggage, clean the airplane, clean the toilets, clean the seats, do the boarding pass things and whatnot. So they all have multiple roles. And the food service. When you get food in these planes, they charge you with an exorbitant amount of money. So if you were to get a sandwich, they're probably 7 euros, which is probably not worth it. But, people buy into that because they're so hungry. So yeah. And they avoid expensive airports. So what I mean by expensive airports are really famous airports in the country, like the airport that has the most transnational plane exchange, if that makes sense. So yeah, essentially the busiest airports. They go to the rural airports that are 80 minutes away from the capital city and whatnot. this reduces a lot of, expenses, and in exchange they have a lot of huge negotiating power because of it. I'm so sorry if this makes no sense, but because they're in such a small airport, right, the only planes that go there, that stop there, is that budget airline. That's why, they could be like, hey, it's only me that occupies this airport, so make the price lower. So it's basically like that. I hope that made sense. And another thing is, if they were to, operate at a busy airport, it would be at really weird times, like 3 a.m., 2 a.m., and 1 a.m., just those a.m. moments. And they operate all day nonstop, so they would use the same plane to go on multiple flights. So you could go to you could go to so many cities. They'd at least make 3 to 4 country stops. So they go to Brussels to Paris, and then Paris to Brussels, and Brussels to whatnot to Brussels, Brussels to whatnot again, and whatnot to Brussels. So many. And they have a 30 to 45 minute, break time between landing and taking off. So this is cleaning and checking in with employees and whatnot. That's why they have a lot of delays sometimes. And when they do check-ins, it's by machines, which cuts down on personnel costs. So typically when you go on an airplane, you would go to the counter and you'd be like, hey, please give me my boarding pass, to a nice lady. But this time it would be for machines if you go on LCC, but not everywhere, I suppose. And here's a more compare and contrast with RyanAir and Easyjet. So the number of employees, these units are a bit more different with the ones I had in the beginning. These are more accurate. So the number of employees, this is taken from 2023. Revenue, this is from 2023. Total assets, I don't know why I left that blank. And you can see that here. Okay. And you can see the top 10 aircraft operators from here as well. This is crazy. This is taken from May 2023. Okay, and now let's go to exam corner, where I have a 10 marker, and I'm going to use this case study that we just learned to explore this idea. So examine ways in which one or more TNCs can expand international tourism destinations. So the case study I'm going to use is EasyJet. So it's been many years since EasyJet's first flight. In that time, the aviation industry has changed almost beyond recognition, taking tourists to towns previously untouched by holidaymakers. So budget airlines like EasyJet have reshaped the landscape of European tourism over the past 2 decades, particularly in smaller towns and cities. So just to recap on what TNCs are, they are transnational corporations. So they interact with many foreign services and investors. Okay, so these are the countries. I have 3 countries right here impacted by EasyJet. So the first one we have is Iceland, Keflavik. It was a dirty little place where the main industry was fishing. Please don't quote me on that. I got this from a source, and they called it dirty themselves. And by 2005, they only had 2 carriers operated all year round, but now it has more than 9. So with what budget airlines and EasyJet in particular have added is winter tourism in Iceland, Keflavik, with a lot of English people visiting. And so, for example, again, it was once a modest fishing community overshadowed by its nearby capital, Reykjavik. I'm so sorry. But today, it's a bustling hub welcoming millions of passengers annually, largely thanks to the influx of budget airline travelers. This surge in tourism has not only revitalized the local economy, but also sparked significant infrastructure developments, transforming Keflavik into a vibrant tourist destination in its own right. So they also redid the airport, which looks really nice. Okay. So now we have Italy. Italy. Okay. And it's Bari. And for this place right here, it's a prime example of a destination revitalized by the advent of budget flights. So, because of this, increased accessibility provided by budget airlines made it easier for travelers to explore this area. With more tourists arriving, Bari has experienced significant improvements in its amenities, including upgraded accommodations, enhanced infrastructure, and expanded dining and entertainment options. So despite these positive developments, concerns about the impact of tourism growth on Bari's local identity persists. So residents and authorities alike are mindful of striking a balance between catering to visitors' needs and preserving the authentic character and traditions that make Bari unique. So it's kind of, their sustainability and cultural heritage is kind of, getting impacted because of the influx of tourists. But, in recent years, it's good to note that it has gained traction as a cultural hotspot because it hosts events, festivals, and exhibitions that celebrate its rich heritage and artistic vitality, but sometimes that's commodified into a way that actually hurts the citizens and residents of the area, which is really sad, actually. Okay. Lastly, I have Spain, Girona, and sometimes, like Girona in Spain, have faced challenges as airlines redirect services to larger airports nearby, leading to a decline in passenger numbers and economic setbacks. Yet overall, the impact of budget airlines on European tourism has been overwhelmingly positive, democratizing travel and bringing economic prosperity to previously overlooked regions. In the case of Spain and Girona, it's not typically the town that's been affected. Yes, it has been affected by tourism, but it's more like the airports nearby, the main airports. Since a lot of people just switched to budget airlines, the other airlines did not get enough profit and revenue and whatnot. So yes, that is it for my video. Oh, no, excuse me, I had a pros and cons list of expanding international tourism. So the benefits, of course, it increases GDP, gross domestic product, benefits the economy, more revenue, more investment, more spending. So great. And creation of jobs, employment, especially in the tourism industry, and perhaps the aviation industry as well. Tax revenues, which is basically kind of like GDP, and broadening international relations and income, basically also GDP. Downsides are environment-related, sustainability, habitat loss, deforestation, destruction to make these services, loss of jobs in the aviation industry, not necessarily in the tourism industry, commodification of cultural sites like heritage sites, bad to be dependent on tourism, that's really bad, and carrying capacity, this has to do with the environment again, sometimes seasonal, so winter and summer. What about spring and fall, right? Okay, that is it for the video. Thank you. Please share the experiences you've had with low-cost carriers. Thank you.